Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Mask of the Phantasm 2-pack. So we've seen this Batman before for the most part. It's slightly different than the most recent Batman that we received in a good way, and then the Phantasm is obviously not an old figure, it's a new one. But you guys, this line is baffling to me because I can't tell if they're trying and failing at things or if they just don't care, or I can't quite peg what's going on with it. I have a strong inkling that they are banking on the fact that this is the Batman the Animated Series and people are going to buy this stuff either way. I can't not get that out of my head. These guys aren't bad, but there are still issues that they just don't need to exist. They're problems that shouldn't be. So anyway, let's get the figures off the stand and take a look at them up close, and you'll be able to decide if you want to buy them or not. Okay, so like I said before, Batman is pretty much the same, but we're going to do a quick rundown just so you guys can see what you're getting in the package in case you haven't already seen the Batman. He stands roughly about 16 centimeters, which makes him just about 6.5 inches, just shy of that. So he's pretty much standard scale. You'll be able to use him in most of your domestic collection, so that's a good thing. It's got a generally appealing look to it. They did a good job with that for the most part. However, it's still not super accurate, and that is kind of what bugs me a little bit about it. If you look at the insert that they even give you with the figure, that's what his head's supposed to look like from the animated series. Now, I get that they had to make that round, so it's going to change a little bit. But did the eye shape have to change so much? I mean, it looks okay. It still looks good. Excuse me. It still looks good. It just doesn't look quite right. So I don't. 2 attempts at this guy, and they still haven't gotten the eyes right, which is a pretty iconic part of his look. So it's a little irritating that they can't do that. You know what I mean? Like I can live with the changes in the body. That makes sense because we needed to make this work as an action figure. But as far as the eyes, his eyes are constantly squinting in this sculpt. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just the kind of deal that bugs me because they could have done it and they didn't. Anyway, he comes with some accessories. We get our display stand, which still shows you more inaccuracy. The acrylic part comes with it, obviously. I'm just not going to bother showing that because you don't need to see it. We have the Batarang gripping hands. We have a Batarang. And that's it. That's it for the accessories. And then we have Batman, who has decent enough articulation. It's not great. You can bring the arms out almost horizontally, and they don't look super bad. They don't look great, but they're not terrible. Pretty good range going forward. The elbows still don't look great, but you can almost get 90 degrees out of them, so that's all right. And they have a swivel in there also. No ab crunch. The head can move a little bit. It can look up. It's not too bad. Looks up all right. Goes down. Side to side is kind of limited, surprisingly, due to the sculpt, but it's not terrible. You can lean it a little bit because it's on a double ball peg, so that's pretty good. No ab crunch. You do get a waist twist in there, which works well enough. You have the hips that I don't care for very much. They go far enough forward. They go pretty much the same way back. Then they go out to the side. Now, Batman's not the worst example of this, but it's still just a really bad joint. It doesn't look right at all. Great range of motion, but looks really weird. He's probably actually one of the better ones of the bunch as far as that hip joint goes, so it's tolerable. For the knees, they don't quite go 90 degrees, which is unfortunate, and they're not super attractive looking. And then for the ankles, luckily, he has the ankle hinge. Works really well, and we have an ankle rocker, which isn't great, but it's good enough. It's not great because of the angle it puts the foot, but it does it better than some other figures, so it's not bad. Batman's a pretty decent figure. He's not great by any means, but he's definitely good enough. Now let's look at his counterparts. So this figure stands about 6.5 to the top of the hood, which is about 16 centimeters. Now, it's definitely built like a man, because prior to the mask being removed, it looked like a man in the show. So, or in the animated film, whatever you want to call it. So that's okay. No alternate head or anything. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought we were going to get an alternate head, even though it was still on the man body. But we don't, so I don't know where I got that idea. The cloak on here is actually pretty well done. it's kind of odd in that it's really thick. Right here, if you had it in your hand, you could tell it's really thick. You might even be able to see the way it's just bending. Super thick right in the middle, and then really thin everywhere else. So I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but it's odd. I'm not sure why they did that. But it does look good for the most part. I wish that they had, I mean, they have the perfect excuse. This seam right here, not seam, but this crease, this line, could have been basically a separate piece so that the hood connected to the head and you could pose it. Because right now you can't. Like, why not do that? Because of the money it would have cost to make the extra mold? Come on. There's no reason, other than they're being cheap, that this separate piece up here, I mean, it's already aesthetically separate, couldn't have just been literally a separate piece that swiveled on top. The face looks okay, but the fact that you can't move it without the hood looking dumb is pretty dumb. Shoulders have decent range of motion. You can bring them all the way out to the side, all the way forward. Bicep works okay. It actually looks and works a little bit better than Batman's, so I don't know why they didn't just go that route for Batman. We have a wrist swivel for the glove, and then where the interchangeable hands go, we have a swivel and a hinge, of course. Batman's wrists had the same thing. I don't think I mentioned that. No ab crunch, but we do get our waist swivel. The hips don't go very far forward at all. They do go all the way back, and then it's kind of goofy looking because this particular arrangement is, it's almost like they put female legs on the upper torso of a male, which works okay in the films the way they did it, but it does look a little bit odd here. Anyway, the hips go all the way out to the side. It's not the worst example again, so that's okay, I guess. We have a knee joint, which is kind of better than it has been. It's still kind of weird looking, but we've seen much worse. We have an ankle rotation, and we have an ankle hinge. No ankle rocker, which is disappointing, especially because, I hope you guys can see this, if you put the feet or the legs straight down and don't rotate anything, they come to a point again, which means it's never going to be standing flat on a surface. I don't know why they can't figure that out. Make the feet flat. Why? It's so frustrating that this isn't something that got approved. It's very minor in this figure, so it's not the worst case in the world, but some of the other figures have had it even worse. How hard is it to make the feet flat? If you're not going to put an ankle rocker on it especially, if you are, then it doesn't matter. But there's no rocker, so the feet are never going to be on the same plane, which is just ridiculous. And on this side, obviously, there's no hand, but we still get the swivel for this. Although this looks pretty inaccurate, if I remember correctly. Here you can see on the base, it's more of like a sickle or a scythe, whereas on this it just looks like a shark fin or something. I don't remember if it was like that in the film or not, so it's not a big deal, it's just something I noticed. So this figure, it's okay, but some of the issues on it are just dumb, which makes it irritating, but I still think the figure overall is pretty good, so there's that. And then as far as accessories go, you get the hands that are on there, of course. Then you just get two more hands. You get an open hand and a gripping hand, which are sculpted nicely. But that's it. So as a 2-pack, you know, it's actually pretty good. Don't let my negative comments toward a few things sway you from getting the set. It's still a pretty decent set. It's just those few things are just so stupid to be on the figure that's why I said I don't understand what they're doing with this line. Do they just not care? Do they just care more about money? Are they banking on the franchise? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. It's a cool set. I think you should pick it up. It's probably the best Batman we've gotten so far. And like I said, this figure is pretty well done for the most part. So I think you should pick it up and see for yourself what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.